Welcome to the 3Dflow Academy. In this video tutorial, we'll focus on how to edit and improve your 3D model in 3DF Zephyr using the selection and editing tools. During the 3D reconstruction process, you may want to clean your noisy point cloud or mesh, or select and process subsections, either with duplication or deletion, just to name a couple of options. You can find all these useful tools directly inside Zephyr, here in the Editing tab on the right-hand panel of the UI. Please note that some processes can be applied just for points, some just for triangles, and some for both. Let's start right away and open a Zephyr project. For today's video tutorial, we'll be using a sample dataset which is available for download through the link in the description. As you can see, we have all the outputs in the project tab up to the 3D mesh. We have stopped at this stage as it's a good idea to evaluate noise on the mesh, as shown here, which you may want to clean up before the texturing stage. Simply go here and click the By Hand button under the Select section. A small window will appear that you can move around the workspace. Here we have listed all the selection tools you can use with your mouse on your 3D model. The first tool active by default is the rectangle, and as soon as we enable it, the mouse becomes a cross. Now we are ready to select the areas we want to remove by left-clicking and dragging a selection. The selected area turns red, but if we do this one more time, that selected area changes. This happens because we're in the default mode. If you want to select multiple areas one after the other, switch to the Add mode. Now, each additional selection will be added to the existing selection. Alternatively, if you want to delete this selected area, click Remove, and your specific selection will be deleted. Last but not least, the Pause mode. This is super useful for moving around the subject and adjusting the virtual camera position to better select an area of interest. Click Resume, and the cursor will go back to being a cross. Aside from the rectangular tool, you can change it to the one that you feel is better suited to you and your needs. One of the most used is likely to be the polygon tool, which clearly gives more freedom while selecting. As you can see, the vertices of the polygon start following the mouse and thus our selection. Once we close the vertices, everything that falls within the polygon becomes red, as we saw earlier. Let's try the other manual tools now. Remember that you can mix and match them together when you're in the Add mode. With the elliptic and lasso tools, you select the area by left-clicking the mouse and keeping it pressed. And then there's the box tool, which works in a similar way to the bounding box volume we showed you in our video tutorial on the basic workflow. Generally speaking, the manual selection tools are the most heavily used. However, there are some cases where the other options may be the preferable choice. Quite a common scenario is when you want to delete those bluish parts of the sky present in your 3D model, or other sections that have a specific color that you want to remove. In this case, the selection by color function is recommended. Simply zoom in and pick the reference color, then set the desired tolerance threshold, and the selection will be applied only to the areas that include that color. Additionally, there are points and triangles selection tools, which can be used on point clouds and meshes respectively. These are used less often and for very particular needs, as they enable you to select specific points or triangles based on the criteria listed here. For the sake of this video tutorial, I won't go into the details of this list, but you can always look it up in our extensive PDF documentation online. Please refer to the link in the video description to learn more. Continuing with the selection tools, we have the plane selection. This is very helpful when dealing with terrain. Essentially, you're selecting all the point source triangles that exist above a specified plane. The camera selection tool will allow you to select the workspace cameras that you want to isolate using the same manual selection tools we saw earlier. This selection is useful if you want to remove some cameras that have somehow been oriented incorrectly, or simply want to see them in the camera navigator. Once selected, they'll automatically be highlighted and visualized in both the 3D viewport and in the camera navigator. Additionally, you can start a new project using only the selected cameras by right-clicking on them and choosing the option New Project from Selected Cameras. The last two options present in this section are the Invert and Clear buttons. As their names suggest, they can be used to either invert your current selection or to clear it all if you want to start over. In this case, we're fine with the current selection. We can now use some of the tools available in the Edit section. These tools allow you to perform a series of actions that will directly influence your previous selections. We talked about removing unwanted areas, in other words, noise or anything that we're not interested in, from our point cloud or mesh. You can do that easily by clicking on the Delete button, and that's it. If you go with the Cut option, you'll end up having two items listed here, in our case, two meshes. They visually represent the initial mesh before the selection, but they're actually two different objects, with the selection cut from the original mesh. Similarly, with the Copy option, you end up with two different meshes, but this time the original mesh is left untouched. Beyond this, we can use the Confidence tool, which is pretty different from the other tools used so far. It allows you to visualize in 3D space confidence shading onto your dense point cloud from red to blue. Red means that an area is hot and thus seen by many cameras, whilst the progressively blue areas mean that they're seen by fewer cameras, indicating weaker parts of the reconstruction. The major benefit of this confidence tool is having a visual representation of the parts seen by most cameras. Zephyr has more confidence in these high overlap areas, and this awareness can be exploited when performing analysis in the case of complex scenarios with difficult geometry. Before concluding our tutorial, we should cover the Volume of Interest tool shown here. This tool helps to speed up the editing process, especially when dealing with very large reconstructions, as it focuses the rendering only on the area of interest decided by the user. It works pretty much like a bounding box, with this visual effect that shows the parts that won't be considered by the 3D viewport. After performing all your editing actions, you can easily go back to the original rendering view by clicking the Reset button. And that's it. We've finished our tutorial on the selection and editing tools in 3DF Zephyr. If you have any questions or doubts, feel free to contact 3Dflow technical support at support@3dflow.net.